In terms of environmental issues too, it's important to reflect on the different nature of different environmental issues, and sometimes the cause of an environmental problem is very, very obvious, but addressing is not necessarily a straightforward thing. So often people talk about the solution being known. Again, there's been a lot on the radio in the last couple of weeks about the Murray-Darling Basin and the $10 billion water package agreement to save the Murray River. Scientists for years are saying we know what needs to happen in terms of saving the Murray. We need to get some more water back in it. But economists, psychologists, human geographers have been thinking about and trying to develop ways of getting those resources back in terms of managing non-sustainable use at the moment. I showed this picture because I did some field work 8 years ago in southern Luzon in the Philippines, looking at a national park on this volcano. It's a Mount Isarog is 4,500 metres high and comes sort of straight out of the sea. It's one of the wettest places on Earth because it rains every day, depending if the wind's coming from the east or the west. It still rains, but there's been massive tree clearance on that mountain, leading to landslides, flash flooding, massive erosion, and the solution's quite clear. You stop people chopping trees down. And as a result of these flash floods, instead of having having waters coming down the mountain all year, and the villages around having sustainable water supplies, now they have floods or drought. So the solution is to stop people chopping trees down. I was working with an NGO, this amazing guy called Angel here, who was getting community groups up, and they were standing in front of the logging trucks coming down from the mountain. All illegal logging. Often the people in the logging trucks were heavily armed with machine guns. Sometimes the people doing the illegal logging were the Philippines Army, and the other people doing the logging was the Communist Army, which was also in the same mountain, and there was a war going on in the mountain. So doing natural resource management was very difficult in those settings. They had a land care tree planting, and there was 300 armed guards managing and protecting the 30 tree planters. So a very, very different tree planting experience to some of the land care work that I've been involved with around Greater that I'll talk about later. So they managed to stop some trucks, and the very first truck they stopped here is a truck full of timber, and it's been driven by the local mayor. So in this case, issues of corruption, endemic corruption, of violence, were the things that were causing that natural resource management issue. There are much more pressing issues to solve in that area in some senses, but all these things come together. So as I said before, as I said yesterday, environmental issues are inherently very complex in terms of this human environmental interactions. Here's another place that I take some of my third-year students on a field trip to in the Murray-Darling Basin, a place called Kerrang, near downstream of Echuca. This water here in this river is much more saltier than the sea. It's about 50,000 parts per million. You certainly can't drink it. And it's a result of an engineering solution to an environmental problem. So this area started to go out of production in the turn of last century, around 1900, 1910, due to rising water tables. The saline water table came to the surface, and you can see it's killed all the vegetation. But that area has stayed in production. It's been a very successful dairy industry as a result of these drainage canals that have been built. So these drainage canals have been built to take the water away, to take this highly saline water away. And it's doing that very effectively. On either side of this photo you can't see, there are very successful dairy farms where people are making a lot of money growing pasture and grazing their cattle on it and getting milk from that. The problem, though, is that the salt has been exported downstream, so the benefits have been very locally received, and the disadvantages have been borne downstream. And in this case, the rising water tables are a result, this is one of the really interesting things about this case, the rising water tables are the result of tree clearance 100 years ago in the gold rushes in the 1850s, so 160 years ago in the 1850s, 1860s around Bendigo. So we have a problem caused over 100 years ago, over 100 kilometres away, interacting in the landscape here. The solution being this drainage canal actually making things worse for people downstream, but making things good for people locally. So just one case study just showing the complexity of environmental issues, of who benefits, of who bears the cost. Another example, I was in Bangkok on a railway station on Chinese New Year a couple of years ago. There was 3 or 4 million people trying to go to Chinatown. from this railway station. It's just quite an extraordinary scene. And they're all wearing Arsenal, Manchester United, and Liverpool tops because they're all red and they're all crazy about the English Premier League, and the red being the Chinese symbols, the Chinese lucky colour. So you got stuck on this railway station for 4 or 5 hours, and able to sort of contemplate the nature of the universe and the environment. And then off in the distance was this cafe, the Hard Rock Cafe with Save the Planet sign there. It got me thinking about lots of things. One thing was the price of water and petrol in Thailand. So in most developing countries, there's not reliable, safe drinking water. You have to buy your drinking water in bottles. I've just come back, as I said yesterday, from Vietnam Field School, and the logistics of that involved buying about 2-3 litres of water a day per person. So we go to a village for 3 nights. There's 40 people in that group. That was a truckload of water we had to take out there. So people are buying water. And the interesting thing is that water is more expensive than petrol. So here we have this natural renewable resource that's being priced expensively. And we have this non-renewable resource that's in many cases, in many ways, stuck in the environment that we're using in extraordinarily wasteful ways. So I'd like you just to think about what forces are at work in many developing nations, and indeed developed nations, where Coca-Cola and water, petrol and Coca-Cola can be cheaper than safe drinking water. We'll be talking, and Alistair in particular, will be talking about issues of globalisation. So we live in a globalised world, and this idea of petrol coming halfway around the world being more expensive than something that just falls from the sky, I think is a really important issue for us to think about.